Hi, so I'm calling this video Sibling Edition because for 2 weeks I have my younger brother Yatin joining me for travels, which is really nice, and it's the first time in 6 months that A, anyone has come to visit me, and B, that I've spent 2 weeks with the same company. But thankfully Yatin is awesome company. He is my younger brother, he's super easygoing, just very easy, go with the flow. So it has been a really nice chill time with him. So in terms of what all we've been up to, our first stop was in Hampi, and Hampi, if you don't know, is in the south of India. It's in Karnataka. It is a place where back in the 1500s there was sort of like a royal king that like ruled. Obviously India was filled with all these kingdoms, but there was a royal king that lived there, and so there was like all of these palaces and temples, and what remains now are some of the structures, pieces of some of those structures. But what was amazing about going there is just seeing or getting a glimpse of what society would have been like, you know, just these incredible buildings, so ornate. I think we lived in a time when things were, you know, art was appreciated, everything was covered in sculptures and had stories to them and was just so rich. I remember the tour guide telling us that there was this huge bazaar where they would sell like kilograms worth of like gold and jewels, and I don't know, it's kind of like, it reminded me of like going to Rome and seeing like little bits of the remaining remains, of course, and then you're just kind of standing there in awe thinking, what are we not seeing? Like obviously the landscape, the buildings, the society, the coming and going of people is just so different from what we know. So that was a really cool sort of like trek down, not memory lane, because obviously we don't know these things, but just having that reality check of, wait, we've lived for civilizations and things have just been different in the past. And the other really cool thing, many cool things, the other really cool thing about Hampi is the environment, the terrain is just one of the most unique terrain that I've ever seen. Obviously ever seen in India as well. But, you know, the terrain is, you know, you have rice fields, which are green and lush, you have palm trees, you have banana trees. The highways are like filled with like in between the lanes and the highways, there's like filled with flowers. It's so beautiful. But then in the background are these mountains, and these mountains are mountains made of boulders, like literally just like stacked boulders that some of them are cracked, some of them are tipping, and it looks like they should fall, but somehow everything is just holding on. It's really hard to describe. I think when you are there, even if you see pictures, but I think if you're there and you see the size, the literal size of some of these boulders, and they're just kind of like on an angle hanging out there and not tipping over, it just makes you think, I don't know, there's something else holding all this up. And the other really cool thing that we did is we found out about these old cave paintings. So we went to this place. There's this one old dude who found these paintings about 10 years ago. It's not really an official like tour stop, or like, I don't know if you can, maybe you can read about it. I should actually look that up and see if there's some articles on it. But there was like some small placard outside that said cave paintings, but it's not like all the other sites in Hampi, which are, you know, I guess part of the board of tourism and all of that, or history and is being actively sort of excavated or anything. But there was this cave we went to. There's this older gentleman, this older man. He found these like 10 years ago and has been preserving them ever since. And you go and he like walks you up and takes you to these different caves. And you see these cave paintings, and they're from 5,000 years ago. And they're very simple paintings, but when you look at these paintings, like, we can understand the story. You know, there'll be like, there was like a man there. I mean, there were several people but I remember there was a man, I think there were like some cows, so he was obviously telling the story of like, you know, herding cows. There are animals. There was a massive snake, donkeys, or not donkeys, deer. Just really interesting animals. And what was also really cool was there were also symbols of like Shiva, like Shivalinga, Trishul, like sun, moon. The coolest thing was this one picture I'd heard about and I wanted to see, but there is like an alien spaceship painting, and think of it what you like, but I mean, to me, it just makes me think like, okay, even 5,000 years ago, or 5,000 years ago, maybe we had even better knowledge of aliens and things out there. So that was really cool. And then he also took us around and showed us where Hanuman's footprints were. And it was really cool because he was telling the story of you know, Hanuman and Ram stopped here on the way to Lanka to save Sita. And what's been really neat is like throughout this trip, obviously I've been to Sri Lanka, I've been to different parts of India, and I feel like I'm getting little bits of like the story of Ramayan, like inadvertently, which maybe I'll talk about in another video or maybe on Instagram or something, but how, you know, it wasn't ever something, you know, growing up that you think is that cool, you know, like you never want to like be too religious, and we didn't have that much interest. I didn't have so much interest. I had some interest, but not so much. But you also didn't really go too far into it. Being in India, being in Sri Lanka, these are the stories that just exist, and it's histories that exist, and it's very normal for, obviously with older people, but even with younger people who are just aware of these stories and will talk about like, oh yeah, this is where this happened, this is where this happened. So that's been a cool experience, I think, both for Yatin and I, especially for him, right? I know I'm talking a lot about my experience. I can't really speak on his behalf, but hopefully I'll have him in part of this video later. But yeah, it's been cool to see him experience different parts of India. Like we stayed in this homestay in Hampi, which I remember we showed up to and he was like, whoa, like you really meant that we were gonna stay in like a variety of places. So it was a very simple homestay. The place that, you know, we stayed, it was like the room was made of, I don't know, bamboo leaves or something, like very thin walls, very basic. But it was also really awesome because there's this family, this mother, she has 2 kids. There's a husband, but I think he was away working. But like there's roosters, we wake up to the roosters every morning. There would be monkeys like fighting on the roof and like overnight. They had a dog which was named Michael, who's hilarious. And there's like little chicks, little like chickens running around. It was just a really rustic experience, and also really nice because she made all this like home cooked food for us. We met other travelers. Yatin got to meet some, like got to sort of experience, like, I guess encounter some of the stories and things that I guess now are normal for me, where, you know, I think one of the things we were talking about, he was like, oh yeah, like we met these 2 German guys who rented bicycles and rode from Mangalore to Hampi, which is far, on bicycles, not motorbikes, bicycles. And, you know, just kind of, not just being in awe of meeting different foreigners, people having different stories, their adventures with travel. So that was kind of cool. And then from Hampi, we went to Gokarna. And what was really fun about that was we had booked this bus. It was an overnight bus. And first of all, we got to the bus stop, and of course there's no sign for the bus stop. So I'm asking people around, like, hey, is this the bus stop? And then there's these 2 older men, and they were so helpful. They like helped us, they called the driver, they waited for us until the bus came. Like, they were just super sweet, super kind. And, you know, that's one of the other things Yatin was talking about. He's like, hey, like, people are so nice. Like, not that he didn't expect it, but just was like, wow, that's so nice. They just stayed and waited for us and made sure we got where we needed to go. So we get on this bus, and when we get on the bus, I thought it was just like a regular cedar bus, because that's what it showed when I booked the tickets. And we get to like our assigned seats, And it turns out it's a sleeper bus, and I've never been on a sleeper bus, even though I've been in India for this whole time. I haven't been on like that long of a bus, but we're taking this overnight bus, and it's a sleeper bus, and both of us are both so excited because basically we have this like cabin, and it just felt like it was like a fort. Like, you know when you're like 8 years old and you put some blankets over the table and you put some pillows and like you create your own world. Like, we were just laughing so hard. We thought it was so cool. We thought of our nephew and how much he would just think this is so cool. So yeah, that was such a fun start to that section of the trip. And just I think it's something, you know, you'd only feel if you had a sibling, right? Like, maybe if I saw that, you know, if I thought it was going to be a seater and then it was a sleeper, I don't know if I would have had the same reaction, but I think we both had this like, whoa, like, how cool is this? And we felt like kids, which was really fun. And then Gokarna, which is the next chapter, mini chapter. Obviously he's only here for 2 weeks, so we're traveling at like light speed because I've been slow traveling most of my trips. So going places and staying there for 2 days or 3 days is like, whoa, crazy fast for me. So we were in Gokarna, and Gokarna is on the beach. It's like a beach town, again in Karnataka. It's on the same coast as Goa, and I had heard about it and I just wanted to go. And we went and it was a nice experience. It was very quiet, very local, very offbeat, you know, not commercial. You're not gonna find some like cute cafe with, you know, a nice coffee and a, you know, whatever, vegan bowl. You know what I mean? When you go to these beach towns, you find all these like beachy stuff, smoothie bowls, all this kind of stuff. No, you're not gonna find that. Very local food. It was quite funny because that time in Gokarna we ate so, like, basically it's all South Indian food, and like the options were kind of limited. So we had a dosa pretty much every day, if not twice a day, like for breakfast and lunch, because those were the options. But it was so nice. It was really calm. We really liked Om Beach, which had like still waters. And the other thing we did was we went to Murudeshwar, which is not far from Gokarna, and there is the second largest Shiva statue there. And we both just thought it was really cool, like the way it was built. It was massive, it was beautiful. But we also got to learn like other parts of like the Ramayana story. And again, like I said, this was something Yatin and I were reflecting on. We're like learning little bits of these stories. We obviously, growing up, it was not part of growing up, and also probably something we stayed away from, shied away from. But it's kind of cool, like as adults, to like learn some of these stories. Sorry, I should probably tell you what the story is because I'm talking about it. So Ravan was a king in Lanka, and he was very devoted to Shiva, and so he prayed a lot to Shiva, and Shiva was very impressed, so he presented himself to him and said, like, I'll give you one gift. And he said, okay, I want your Atma Linga. So the Atma Linga is like super powerful. And he said, I'll give it to you on one condition, that when you take it back, you cannot let it sit on the ground, because as soon as it sits on the ground, it will stay stuck. So he's like, sure. So he takes it. But obviously all the other gods were like a bit worried, because they're like, hey, Ravan is powerful and strong, but also is maybe evil or negative or whatever. And so Ganesh shows up as like a little Brahmin boy, and Ravan sees him and says like, hey, can you hold this while I do my evening prayers? So he does his evening prayers, and Ganesh had said to him like, hey, if I can't carry the weight of this, I'll call your name 3 times and I'll put it down. And so obviously he puts it down. Ravan wakes up, or not wakes up, but comes out of his prayers and is super mad, and like tries to lift it, can't lift it, throws pieces of it in different places, so they end up in different parts of India. So now there's like special temples there, and that's where one of the temples is where the Shiva temple is in Gokarna. So that was one story that we learned, and now I've shared it with you, and hopefully I know I've simplified it, but hopefully I've done it somewhat justice and explained why now there's this really big temple there. And then what did we do? Oh, so anyways, we had a really cool time in Gokarna. It was cool, local, like lots of local tourists, some foreign tourists, but quiet, chill. Then we got to Aganda, which is where I am sharing this video from now. And I don't know how to describe it, but the moment we got here, I just immediately was like, oh my God, I like this place. Like there's an energy here. I don't know how to describe it. Like I was immediately feeling like, I want to stay longer. We only have 3 days here, but like it's not enough. And like it was like excited panic, if that makes sense, like excited urgency. And it was just quite hilarious. Like I was buzzing, and we had lunch, and even afterwards Yatin said to me like, I can tell you're still excited, like I can tell you're still buzzing. I'm like, I know, but I'm like, I don't know how to describe this, but I just feel like I came here and there's an energy match. Like my body knows that I will be back here, that I will spend time here. I can't explain it. It's kind of like I've talked about this idea that in Mumbai I just had this pull. This doesn't feel like a pull, this feels more like a knowing, like, okay, I know I'm gonna spend time here, and that's just the way it is. And I guess the vibe, to explain more what this vibe is, so Aganda's in South Goa, so South Goa is more chill, more calm, the beaches are clean, they're nice. The waves are a bit wavy, as waves are, but no, as in it's, there's quite a lot of waves, so it's not as easy to go in the water. You can go in, but that doesn't matter, it's still really nice. There's lots of like, there's some yoga studios, there's some really good cafes, there's a mix of like Indian food as well as like Western food. I think Yatin and I came here and we were so happy to just like have pasta or like have a sandwich, because we love dosa, but like when you're having it like twice a day, I think we're like, okay, like I want some variety. And it just feels like there's a friendly vibe here. People like say hello to you. There's a lot of foreigners here, but it's sort of a nice mix. And I guess sometimes they say this, oh, there's a lot of foreigners here, but I guess when I think about it, like I am also a foreigner, and maybe it's nice to find this sort of like Western, Eastern mix. Maybe I'm trying to justify why I like this place. Who knows why I like this place? Like I said, it's probably just some energetic match, something that is meant to be. So yeah, we've just been having fun. I've been going to some yoga classes. We've been going to some cafes. I, as usual, just been making friends, just talking to random people in cafes. There's always cool conversations going on because obviously there's like people into yoga, spirituality, so there's a few things I've learned about ecstatic dance, which was really interesting. Won't share it here because I think I need to learn a little bit more before I can share. And yeah, just been having a good time, chilling by the beach, having good food, having nice conversations with people. It's been nice. It's been really nice. And I'm gonna end the video here because I'm gonna add some little bits later. Like I said, I, fingers crossed, have convinced Yatin to do a mini interview with me, and so maybe we'll hear from his perspective how he's enjoyed all of this time. Okay, you ready?
Not really.
No? So we're doing a little interview.
Yep.
About Yatin's time here in India. And I guess for context, Yatin's first time in India was in 2006.
Yes.
So almost 20 years ago. So I think this is probably more of a impactful, memorable trip to India than the first one. And we've been traveling a lot of South India. So we did Hampi, we did Gokarna, we did
Goa, Aganda.
Yeah, South Goa, Aganda. And we've actually traveled around in Mumbai a little bit, which actually I realized I didn't include in my previous video. So I'm going to add in a question about your time in Mumbai.
Okay.
Because I forgot to cover it. But let's start with my first question, which is, what were your thoughts and feelings before coming to India?
I was definitely nervous. It was just a lot of unknown of what to expect about India. Obviously, you've spent a lot of time here in the past few months, so I'm like, obviously this is something that's going to be an overall positive experience, but it's still like something unknown that I'm going into. because we really haven't been here or really remember much from my last time here.
Yeah, nice. And now that you've been here and today's your last day, how are you feeling now?
I wouldn't say definitely not what I expected. It feels like, at least being here in Mumbai just feels like I'm back home in Toronto.
Okay.
It just feels like a regular city, except like streets aren't like square, like intersections aren't normal. There's just the streets everywhere. That's
Okay.
it. Like getting around, I just think of the intersection. Maybe
Okay.
not so much here.
What you mean because it's like metropolitan? That's why
Yeah.
Mumbai feels like more.
Yeah, it just
normal?
feels normal. Feels like a city. That's it.
Feels like a city.
Yeah. Feels
Cool.
like a metropolitan city.
Got it. And while we're talking about Mumbai,
And actually, also on that, the skyline. If you gave me a photo of the skyline of Mumbai, I just think it's any other city without knowing.
yeah, like when we cross
When
the
you cross the
Sibling,
Sibling bridge.
yeah, you're just like any big city.
Yeah.
Okay. While we're on the topic of Mumbai, because I forgot to talk about Mumbai in the prior video, what do you want to say about the things we've done in Mumbai? Like, what have been the things that have stood out about what we've done in Mumbai, starting from the first day you were here?
What have we done that stood out? Well, taking the train.
Yeah.
Going
Which part about taking the train?
I think that I don't know. I want to say the train was surprising. It was fine. You just kind of just do it.
Yeah.
And that's really it. But that was just like an experience in itself.
Were you kind of scared to take the train just because of things you heard? Were you afraid it was going to be busy, overwhelming?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
like a mix of all that. But like I think you and me have talked about this before too. Was just like, as much as everything you see, everyone just wants to go about their day-to-day life and don't really notice you in their day-to-day life. So like, as much as you think, as much as a lot's going on, it's really nothing. It's just another day home from the office. That's not memorable for everybody else, right?
Yeah.
And I'm the one that's nervous about it, not anyone else. Or I won't say nervous, it's just I'm the one that's thinking in my head that's making a deal of it versus anything.
Yeah, that's a good point. And what do you want to say about the other experience on the train?
Well, like getting fined?
We got fined on the train because we got on the first class but paid for a second class ticket, and
We weren't doing that on purpose.
not on purpose.
Yes.
And basically we had gotten off at this train station and there's a guy standing there asking for the ticket, so I show him the ticket and he's like, you know, you were on first class but you have a second class ticket.
Yeah.
And this whole while he's like talking to Yatin, but obviously I'm responding because I can speak Hindi. And
Oh yeah, that's another thing. I don't speak any Hindi.
yeah, Yatin doesn't speak any Hindi, and it's been actually really funny because obviously India is a bit more patriarchal society, but everywhere we go, everyone is looking at him and they're like, "Sir,"
Yeah.
but like he just stands there with his like goofy smile and is like shifting his eyes, and I'm obviously the one like talking, answering all the questions, directing. So
Telling
I think
the taxi driver where we need to go, filling out everything.
yeah, like, and it probably throws people off. But anyways, I think because of this, the I guess ticket collector was like, fare inspector was like, oh, is he foreign? Like, well, foreign say I, and I was like, oh yeah. And then I was like, well, I got him to get the tickets, and he's like, but you're from here, you live in Mumbai, like, you should know better, like, you should have checked the tickets, you should have got the tickets. And I was like, well, it was his first day, like,
he's a tourist.
He's a
Giving
tourist,
him the
so
full
I
experience.
was like, you go get the tickets. So then he was like, okay, ma'am, like, I'll just fine you because you should know better. And also the other thing is when he told us the fine, also Yatin has no idea. He knows what's happening, but like, is not hearing what's happening. He understands what's happening.
Yes. I knew we were getting fined. I knew how much the fine was, and I'm like, okay.
And yeah, but obviously is not hearing all of the dialogue in Hindi, but knows what's going on. But I think when both of us heard the fine, it was like 290 rupees per person. Like, I think both of us like didn't know how to react because we thought it was funny. Like, I thought it was funny.
I'm in my head,
because
I'm like,
he's this ticket collector's being super serious, and we're just like kind of laughing. But then I'm like, I also don't want to get like, because this guy was gonna go make me talk to like, I don't know, the guy in the office and stuff, and I was like, okay, I don't want this to get escalated. So he was like, ma'am, like you have to pay because you're from Mumbai and you should know better. And I was like, okay, fine. So that was a fun Mumbai experience.
Yep, that was like the first couple hours too.
Yeah, that was the first day. That was the
first
first day that you were here in Mumbai.
Yep.
Any other standout things that we've done in Mumbai?
Well, that party we went to yesterday just felt like a party.
Yeah, we ended up randomly
Influencer party.
crashing this like influencer party. This is not the first time this has happened where I've been mistaken for an influencer. I really should take more advantage of this and like network or something. Yeah. But we just went to this party and it was actually really awesome because the music was really good. The DJ was definitely showing his age because and so was our group of friends because I was like, I feel like I'm in grade 8, like we're in high school, like such old school songs. It was awesome. So yeah, so that party was really cool. And I think also was cool is like we had no idea that was going to be our plan yesterday.
Yep.
Yeah. We thought we were going to go do a fort tour and then we met some friends and then
it just kind of happened.
Yeah,
it was a great night.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else?
Nothing comes to mind.
Okay. Food.
Oh yeah, Elko. Yeah, that's on my favorite food list. So. Yeah.
Oh, okay, fair.
Elko, that was delicious. I'd love to go back.
Nice. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's get back to the questions.
Okay.
What have been your top 3 to 5 memorable moments across this whole trip?
Okay. Let me see what I vote.
Oh,
if I vote anything. Okay, so sleeper bus.
Yeah.
That was an experience.
Yeah.
Overall.
Which part of it?
Well, first of all, just like laying flat on a sleeper bus is crazy. I didn't think I'd fall asleep, but it's just like a massive rocking chair. That's all it is. Never done that before. So just that experience.
The whole experience of it.
Yeah.
Fine.
I really liked the calmness of Gokarna.
Okay.
Where it was just we weren't hassled for anything, or bothered for anything. It was just like that's what it was.
Yeah.
You and me have had a lot of conversations about a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
2 weeks together, entirely on your turf, not ours, not mine.
Yeah. This is my home base.
Yeah.
You know, like I can navigate us around and get us around, and
I don't speak Hindi, so I can't
very
do anything anyways.
Very dependent.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Memorable moments. Those are what I wrote down. I don't know what's kind of happened. Like Goa was beautiful. Like that was just so nice being there. Having Western food again in Goa was actually really nice, really refreshing after all the other food we had.
Yeah.
I don't know, going to the gym in Goa, like just out in the open was nice. Though I felt that pain for a few days, but
yeah, you did.
Yeah.
When we were in Goa, I went to this yoga studio, and they also had an open air gym.
Yeah.
So I would go to yoga. Yatin would go to the open air gym. Then we get breakfast.
Yeah. Included.
Awesome.
So.
Which was included.
Yeah.
Which was awesome.
Yeah.
And it was really nice because it was sort of like a very friendly social environment. So we'd sit at breakfast and just end up talking to random people, which...
You say we.
I do all the time. You were forced into conversations. Yatin and I are obviously very different personality-wise. But you saw me in my element just talking to random people and probably not talking to as many random people as I normally would because I had good company. The one thing I was going to add, which when you're talking about like memorable moments, obviously we've had tons of conversations, but one thing that I thought was really cool that we ended up doing was like, I don't even know how it came up, but we like went to like our old chats in WhatsApp.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And like went down this like memory lane of like our conversations in WhatsApp.
In your different phone numbers too.
Oh yeah, I've had a million different phone numbers. I still continue to have a million different phone numbers in my life. But it was actually such a cool exercise of like going down memory lane and, you know, pinpointing different like events in time, and also realizing sometimes we've had the same conversation over and over and over again in life. But I thought that was nice.
Unexpected, but
yeah,
and we were talking about it too, and it's just like, why can't we go further back in the chat? And it's like, oh yeah, WhatsApp only started doing backups.
Yeah.
After a certain time, so that's the only time I've had the chat history.
Yeah. And it's not like we text tons, which is why it was probably easy for us to do this. I don't know what other people's chat experience was like, but it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was nice.
Another one I wanted to add was actually the first day in Rambo.
Yeah, in Hampi.
In Hampi, yeah. That was an experience.
What was an experience about it?
Homestay. It's the first time.
Yeah.
It was just very, very rustic.
Yeah.
And you got to do what the locals do and just figure it out. So.
Yeah. When we got there, I remember the first thing Yatin said was like, "Wow!" Like,
yeah.
I said to him before this trip, I was like, "Listen, are you okay with staying in a variety of places? Because on this trip, I've stayed in a variety of places. I've stayed in 5-star hotels. I've stayed in tons of hostels. I've stayed in really simple like guest houses.
Yeah.
All types of places. So the first place I took him to was this homestay, and there's like roosters and chickens and
mosquito nets
and like really sweet family,
very friendly. Yeah, that was probably a big part of that experience. Yeah,
she was really sweet.
She was.
Cool. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, top 3 meals.
Okay.
One of them you've given away. Well, I prompted you on. Because I thought that maybe was like part of your Mumbai experience, but I guess that's just overall.
Yeah, Elko. Just it was great. Wish I could eat more though, but can only eat so much.
Yeah.
Zest. When we first got to Aganda, it had a little bit more Western vibes, and having pizza as an option that was very good was actually amazing, and that was great after a week of just like dosa.
That was good.
And then also I'm gonna have to say dosa because we had so much dosa, but like some of them definitely were like standout-ish. Like I think the 2 that come to mind were when we were in Gokarna, and we went to that random restaurant where I got Manchurian and you got a dosa. That one was good. It was super cheap there.
Yeah,
it was like under 200 rupees with ice cream or something.
Yeah, ice cream was half the bill.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the other dosa that we had for breakfast, where we asked for a menu and they're like, we don't have one.
Yeah.
When I say we, she asked in Hindi for a menu and he just, no.
He was like, no, as usual. Yeah.
Those are probably like top 3.
Nice. Okay, how did you feel? So before I ask this question, before this trip, I said to Yatin, I was like, before you come, why don't you set some intentions for what you want to experience or what you want to do while you're here? So I sent him this message, and my question is like, how did you feel about setting those intentions? Obviously you agreed to it, because I was going to be like, how did you feel about me asking? But how was that experience for you?
I think it was good. It just like, it's not something I've ever thought about before, but at least like putting the thought into it, at least put it in my head. I'm like, these are the things I want to experience on this trip, and we did get to do everything.
We did.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share about setting intentions? Or
no, like it wasn't like I'm setting like a list of 20 intentions over like what I'm doing every day. It's just a general overall thing of what I wanted from the 2 weeks that I was here, and it was good. Like, it was just, I think, 3 or 4 items. That's all it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a couple words or just about what I wanted to do.
Yeah. And I think I made him check in at one point. I was like, hey, okay, we're like halfway through our trip. Like, have you reviewed your intentions? Like, are we tracking? Because then we can add or like make sure we like do those things. Cool.
Yeah.
And you don't have to share what those intentions are, so that's fine. Anything you've learned on this trip?
This is the one question I didn't answer. I feel like I've learned a lot. That's the thing. It's just like I don't even know where to begin, right? It's just been a wealth of just knowledge and experience and like understanding why you like life here so much and why you decided to come to India and why you've been here for the past 7 months, right? 6 months. And then everything that's involved with that, right? It's just like, just living life. I don't know how else to explain it, right? It's just, it's nice to be able to like get a peek into your life of how you live, because obviously you tend to come to Canada more than I come to the UK, and generally when I'm in the UK, there's a lot of other things going on. This is just 2 weeks of you having to deal with me.
It's not dealing. There's literally, Yatin is so easy to travel with, super easygoing.
Well, that's because I can make all the decisions.
Yeah, but we also have this joke that he's the youngest and he has no opinions. Like,
why would I?
Like, he's the youngest. He's never needed to have an opinion. He just goes with the flow, which can be a good thing. But sometimes when I'm like, hey, I need input, he's like, I don't know. Like, so overall, it's a positive because he's super patient. And, we haven't gotten into any, like, we don't get into, like, fights or clash or whatever, like, so it's been
I think we're past that phase.
Yeah, I think that was a very limited childhood phase, which I don't even remember. He remembers more, probably.
That's traumatic.
Apparently he used to pinch him or something.
Yeah, you take your long nails and dig him into my hand.
Yeah, I don't remember doing this, but he did say it, and I was like, it probably sounds about right. I was like, I think as a child I did do that, so the fact that he maybe experienced that is fair. Any final comments you want to share about this trip, about India, to the audience?
I can't wait to come back.
To India?
Yep.
Nice.
We can do another trip all over again, but I can't wait to come back.
Nice.
That's really it. It's like, I want to come back. I see why, like, obviously in Canada, people complain about, like, cost of living and, like, the struggles of how you have to, like, work so hard. And obviously I'm just a tourist here, but it seems like everybody's so nice, everyone's so friendly, everything just kind of works out. Everything that we've gone through, every I don't want to say stressful or nervous situation or unknown situation, I should say, it just everything works out. I think of the time when we were waiting at the bus stop and those 2 uncles just, like, they waited like 15, almost 20 minutes with us to make sure we got on the right bus.
Yeah, and like spoke to them.
And spoke to the driver, everything. And now you posted a story about that too, but that was just like so genuine of them that they didn't have to do it, but they did. Yeah. Because they just cared. Yeah.
That was a really good moment too, right? Yeah. Like, I think we were talking about, like, people are nice, and I think there's a misconception about traveling in India or but it's just like you said, it's kind of just like the unknown, right? Yep. And then you ask for help and you kind of have a sense of, like, okay, who looks dodge.
Yep. Yeah, you once you're able to kind of read people, you're like, okay, I'll ask this person and everything will be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you for joining my little YouTube video.
No problem.
And we're going to spend the last few hours enjoying the last little bit of Mumbai before Yatin heads off.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Follow Instagram first. Not mine. I just repost her stories.
Thanks.
That's all I do.
It's true. It's true. It's okay. Maybe he'll post one photo of our trip. Maybe. Yeah. All right. See you guys.